SUI blockchain, the consumer-first layer 1 with 10x potential. What if a blockchain actually felt like an app? Snappy, cheap, and so simple to use that your friends could utilize it without batting an eye. That right there is the pitch behind SUI. Instead of forcing users through complicated wallets, seed phrases, and those amazingly confusing interfaces, SUI treats assets as objects, thus processing transactions in parallel for insane speed, and also hiding those crypto pain points behind smooth, consumer-ready UX. This is not your typical layer 1 story. This is a new, fresh angle, and it's getting louder by the day. Welcome back to another episode of JRNY TV. My name is Nick, and this is where we make the complex world of digital finance not so complex for anyone, regardless of their experience. In this episode, we're going to be breaking down SUI from the ground up, what it is, why it's gaining mindshare, how the SUI token works, the roadmap pushing parallel execution, along with consumer-grade onboarding, the bullish setup heading into the next cycle, including but not limited to the broader ETF wins into the market, and finally, how SUI stacks up against heavyweights like Solana and Ethereum. So, if you are curious about whether or not SUI is just hype or truly a hidden gem, do stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly why so many are calling it one of the most underrated projects in crypto right now. General overview of what SUI is. At SUI's core, it is a layer 1 blockchain built to break past the limits of traditional architectures. Most blockchains force every single transaction to be processed sequentially, creating bottlenecks when activity spikes. SUI flips that model by utilizing an object-centric design, which allows many transactions to run in parallel. The result? Blazing throughput and near-instant finality that does not crumble when demand surges. The brain behind SUI comes from Miston Labs, a team of engineers who previously worked on Meta's abandoned Diem project. That experience tends to shine through SUI's experience-first approach. Features like ZK Login let users sign in with something as simple as their Google or Apple ID, while ZK Send allows crypto to be transferred with nothing more than a link. Both are powered by zero-knowledge cryptography, meaning the ease of use does not sacrifice any bit of security. Under the hood, SUI also runs on Narwhal and Bullshark. It's consensus protocols that separate data availability from transaction ordering, and this design makes it far more efficient while still keeping the network secure. If you combine that with its focus on UX, SUI is not trying to be another Ethereum clone or a Solana copycat, but instead, it is positioning itself as the blockchain that finally makes Web3 apps feel as smooth as Web 2. The SUI token and its utility. Every single blockchain has a native asset, and for SUI, it's the SUI token. Like ETH on Ethereum or Sol on Solana, SUI is the lifeblood of the ecosystem, but its role goes far beyond simple gas fees. Because of SUI's unique architecture, SUI sits at the very center of all the transactions, staking, governance, and DeFi activity. First and foremost, SUI is utilized to pay fees. Thanks to parallel execution, these fees are not only extremely low, but also predictable, thus making it perfect for applications that need to process millions of fast transactions without cost volatility. For the developers building consumer-grade applications, that reliability is a huge selling point. Beyond the fees though, SUI is also a staking and governance token. Validators and delegators stake it to secure the network, while holders get a say in upgrades and protocol decisions. And on top of all that, SUI powers the DeFi layer, serving as collateral, settlement currency, and liquidity across projects, including but not limited to DeepBook, SUI's native order book. In short, SUI is not just fuel for the chain, but rather the backbone of SUI's entire economic engine. The goals of SUI and its roadmap. SUI's mission is straightforward but ambitious. Build a blockchain that can scale to billions of users without breaking under the pressure. While other networks make vague promises about throughput, SUI zeroes in on two key areas: parallel execution and seamless onboarding as the real keys to mainstream adoption. This is why ZK Login and ZK Send matter so much. They strip away the biggest friction points in crypto: seed phrases, confusing wallets, and intimidating UX. Instead, users now get familiar logins and easy sharing tools, thus making apps feel like second nature. For the developers here, that is a game changer because it unlocks access to audiences who factually never have touched Web3 ever before. On the infrastructure side though, SUI's roadmap is anchored by ongoing upgrades to Narwhal and Bullshark, pushing throughput even higher while keeping latency low. The team is also focused on growing its DeFi ecosystem with products like DeepBook, designed for institutions and high-volume traders. Looking further ahead though, SUI plans to integrate advanced zero-knowledge tech, expand developer tooling, and strengthen cross-chain connectivity. The long-term goal here is make SUI the go-to chain for anyone that's building apps that demand both speed and simplicity. How SUI compares to Solana and Ethereum. When stacked up against Ethereum and Solana, SUI's differences become inevitably clear. Ethereum is still the institutional backbone of crypto, the home for DeFi, real-world assets, and ETFs. But its reliance on rollups and higher fees makes it less friendly for consumer-facing apps. Solana, on the other hand, has become the darling of retail and meme coin traders alike, known for lightning-fast speed and low costs. But it's also faced outages that highlight potential weaknesses in its reliability. SUI positions itself somewhere in between that. Its parallel execution design avoids Ethereum's bottlenecks without leaning on validator shortcuts like Solana. Instead, it processes independent transactions simultaneously, giving it a scalability advantage in areas where thousands of micro actions happen all at once. That right there makes it especially suited for gaming, payments, and social apps, areas that demand both scale and speed. User experience is where SUI really shines. Ethereum still requires clunky wallets unless you're on experimental L2s, and while Solana has Phantom to simplify the onboarding process, SUI is baking consumer shortcuts directly into the protocol. With ZK Login and ZK Send users, they can now sign in with Google or Apple and send tokens just as easily by sharing a link. Market-wise, Ethereum owns the institutional narrative, Solana dominates the retail, and SUI is carving out the mass adoption lane, one that could prove just as powerful in the next bull run. SUI's place in the next bull market. SUI is now proving it's not just another layer 1 chasing the hype. With its focus on parallel execution, consumer-first design, and a growing ecosystem that is impossible to ignore, it's carving out a narrative that Ethereum and Solana have not fully addressed. Ethereum will very likely remain the backbone of institutions, and Solana will keep thriving with traders and meme coins alike. But SUI is betting big on mainstream adoption, and that could be its winning lane. At the center of all of this sits the SUI token. It powers transactions, staking, governance, and the financial ecosystem growing around the chain. As total value locked expands and real-world use cases pile in, demand for SUI could climb steadily. And with the possibility of institutional interest, whether through partnerships or even future ETF speculation, the upside case here for this cycle, it looks profoundly compelling. If SUI does deliver on its roadmap, it could emerge as one of the most defining projects of this bull market, in a space where speed, scale, and usability often tend to separate the winners from the rest. SUI checks every one of those boxes necessary, so the question now is whether it can execute and claim its spot as crypto's next breakout success. We're going to be here to track every step of the way, but before that point, do you think SUI has some room to run from here, or are you looking at other projects? Either way, please be sure to leave your comments below and let's get this conversation started. And if you did find any value in today's video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that little notification bell so you never miss our next video. As always, stay early, stay informed, and remember, your future belongs to you when you start preparing for it. Thanks again for watching JRNY TV. My name is Nick, and we will see you in the next episode.